Did the Tony and Susan Alamo Christian Foundation members eat out of garbage cans? Why, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of in my life, is how Susie answered that reporter. That question was just one of the many controversies surrounding the Tony and Susan Alamo Christian Foundation from the 70s into the late 80s. I remember that journalist, or the member of the press, the media, that asked Susie that very question during an interview. And Susie turned to one of her aides, her bodyguards, or yes man, and asked, "Tommy, have you ever seen anybody in the church eating out of garbage cans?" And he replied, "No, ma'am." Then Susie turned to the reporter and looked him smack dab in the eyes with a great big grin on her face that stretched from ear to ear and said, "See, there's nobody here eating out of garbage cans." Well, at that point, I walked away. I about had enough. I couldn't help but think of the lack of intelligence on the part of the reporter, the news media, and the press. Now, all them journalists had to do was be a little creative with their investigative powers and mosey on down the road there at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and wait for that red, white, and blue truck with the emblem painted on the side that read Tony and Susan Alamo Christian Foundation and follow that truck to their daily routed destinations. And what they would catch on video camera would end all arguments concerning the controversy surrounding the Tony and Susan Alamo Christian Foundation. Do they eat out of garbage cans? And what they would soon discover is that red, white, and blue pickup truck with an emblem painted on the side that read Tony and Susan Alamo Christian Foundation would pull up behind a grocery store. And they would meticulously back that truck, the back end of that truck, up to the dumpster door for convenient loading. Then, the occupants of that red, white, and blue pickup truck with the emblem painted on the side that read Tony and Susan Alamo Christian Foundation would leap out of that truck like a couple of grasshoppers and into that dumpster bin and begin to fill that truck up with the contents of that dumpster. They would take off to the next destination and repeat the same cycle all over again. Then once that truck was full, they'd head off to the church. They'd drive up to that church kitchen and they'd back up that truck to the kitchen door the same way they backed up to them dumpsters for easy unloading. Then all the inhabitants of the church, of the kitchen, would come out in a joint effort and begin to sort and through and determine what was salvageable and what was garbage, and they would clean off everything very meticulous. They'd clean off the cottage cheese containers, the yogurt containers, the meats, and everything, clean all the slough off. And when they were done, it looked like it come right off the store shelf. Then they'd go back and they'd sort through that produce. Yeah, they'd bad spot the potatoes, they'd bad spot the apples, and get all them maggots off of there. Boy, I used to wonder, how many of them little crawly critters ever made it into the evening meal. Yes, the evening meal. At least that's what Susie called it, a free meal. She always invited the guests to stay after services for a free meal. And indeed, it was free. It definitely was free, that's for sure. Come right out of them dumpsters. So the question is, did the Tony and Susan Alamo Christian Foundation eat out of garbage cans? Why, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of in my whole life. The fact is, they did not eat directly out of them garbage cans. You got to keep that in mind. There's a little trick question there. That directly out of the garbage can? No, they did not eat.